We had questions?
Yeah, that's what we're going to do on this session.
Ah, God bless us.
We have
I was
questions.
afraid we were going to have to try to talk about writing a novel or something.
No, that's some bullshit. We don't do.
Oh, good Lord. We suck at that.
Yeah, so welcome back to James S. Corey occasionally writes a novel.
Sort of, occasionally,
Sometimes.
half-assedly.
Yeah. So we just got back from the signing tour. We have one more event to do next week out in Washington D.C. at the National Book Festival or National Book Fair, National Book Festival. What is it?
National Book Fair.
National Book Fair. And then that's our last event. And then for the rest of the year, we can concentrate on avoiding our writing in other ways.
Yes, that's the plan.
So last week, we actually took a brief video while we were on tour. I said, hey, if you want to ask about promotion and touring, because this is supposed to be a thing about the actual process of writing a book, which includes a lot of shit that is not writing the book, which signing tours are one of those things. So we're going to be answering those questions. You okay with that, Daniel?
Yep.
I've got the questions right here. So this is from Ken Rave. So apparently came and saw us when we were in San Diego. So thank you, Ken, for coming out. The San Diego event was very well attended.
San Diego was awesome. That was that was Mysterious Galaxy. That was a good joint.
Oh, and just for everybody listening to this, if you want signed books, the bookstores that we mentioned that we went to on the signings, we signed a bunch of extra stock. Most of them are fine with shipping. So if you can get a hold of one of those bookstores, so Mysterious Galaxy is the one in San Diego. We signed a bunch of stock for them. They may have some left if you're looking for signed books. And they do ship.
And we should talk about the other ones. That's Bookworks.
Oh, we will. We'll talk about all of them. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Okay. So Ken wants to know, asking a question about the book promotional process. You mentioned that you get sent to stores that count for New York Times bestsellers. I mean, that's their best guess. I mean, nobody really knows for sure.
Yeah.
Do you get sent to internationally at all? Do you get to any say at all where you promote, or is it just where the publisher sends you?
I mean, we have done international tours. We did a European tour a few years back, and I mean that's obviously not to hit the New York Times list. It's to do the touring thing someplace we don't normally exist. And I don't know. I feel like it's negotiated with the publisher.
Well, so with the European one, if we didn't come to your country, get mad at your publisher, because our agent sent out a thing to all of our European publishers and said, hey, Ty and Daniel are going to be in Europe for this thing. If you want them to come to your country and sign at some of your bookstores, let us know ahead of time, and we'll add you to the list. And we went to several countries, but there's a bunch of countries we didn't go to that I know our books are sold in. If you live in one of those countries, don't get mad at us. We offered to go everywhere. Whoever your publisher is did not let our agent know that they wanted us to come there. So that's not on us.
Yeah, that's it.
And we could have done more touring this year. Our PR person at Orbit said, hey, if you guys want to do more stuff and meet more fans, you can. But I think both Daniel and I were uncomfortable with that just because of the proximity to the National Book Fair. We knew then we'd be touring for basically 3 weeks straight, which would be crazy. And then the other thing is, go ahead.
Yeah, and that last week, nigh unto murdered me. You remember the video from last week?
Yeah. So we didn't want to do that, and also we're right in the middle of a big summertime COVID spike. Like all of our friends who went to Worldcon, like a huge number of them got COVID. So it seems like one of those things where if you're traveling right now, be very careful. Definitely mask up. Definitely be as careful as you possibly can. Everybody's getting COVID right now. So that was the other thing is we didn't want to. We took our risks with 1 week. It felt like a second week was just tempting the gods to strike us down.
It might have been different if we dropped the book at the end of September when we had a fresh vaccination. I mean, because the new one's supposed to come out at the first part of September.
Yeah, it's a bummer that it wasn't out before we were doing all of this.
Oh, I am so sorry.
Okay, so Vilbarger wants to know: are you responsible for promoting the books in other ways besides traveling and signing copies? I'm sure our publisher would like if we did more promotional stuff.
So I'm going to go back to an old friend of ours, the late great Jay Lake, was a writer who we hung out with back
Still
before
miss
he
Jay.
passed. Yeah, he was wonderful company, lovely man, and his argument was always that nobody cares about your career more than you. We are we responsible for doing more to promote the books? I mean, it's not in our contracts. None of this is in our contract. None of this is obligated.
Yeah.
But we would like to have the books succeed.
Yeah. I mean, I think if Daniel and I were more active on social media, that would probably make some people happy. But I just don't have the
I'm not
energy for it.
I'm not sure how much social media actually functions
That is the question,
as a sales thing. I mean,
yeah.
Galzi has the I mean, he's the one who won it both, but there are a lot of people who have great social media presences that don't translate into book sales. There are a lot of people who have great book sales that don't have great social media presence.
Yeah, I mean, our friend Chuck had talks about the fact that if the same number of people that followed him on Twitter bought his books, he would be a huge bestseller, and he's not.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I mean, I think there's this idea that doing social media helps, but I don't know how much that idea is backed up by data.
And if anybody actually knew how promotions worked, that would be the only thing anybody ever did.
Yeah, exactly.
So
we're not responsible for it. We do. Daniel and I both. Our publisher pays us quite well to write the books, and so when they ask us to do things, we generally are very agreeable. We'll do whatever they ask us to.
And
in general,
they have people who have expertise in this, but they don't have. But going back to our Mr. Lake, they don't have people who care more about James S.A. Corey's career than me or Ty.
Oh, I think they probably do.
Okay, then me. Maybe than Ty.
They probably do. Okay. David Urquhart wants to know, what's your experience like with writers' conferences versus book tours? What is the one conference event you most recommend?
It's a fair question.
Now, Daniel's done... Jesus, dude.
Yeah, sorry about that.
You getting text notifications from God there?
Apparently. It's the new computer, so I don't know how this all works.
Daniel has done way more cons than I have. I did for a couple of years there, I did a number, but I came to it late and I quit early. But Daniel's done a lot more of that.
And the part that I think conventions are really useful for are the part you skipped. I mean, you went straight from writing a short story that you sold a few times to being nominated for the Hugo. There's normally this huge arc in the middle when you're finding out about the industry and meeting people and meeting editors and meeting agents and meeting other writers and finding like little anthologies that you want to participate in and little projects with other people and that kind of neo-pro phase, that's the part we skipped in Hollywood too, the part where we had to like come up through the ranks. For me, the difference between like going on a book tour and going to a convention is the difference between being the entertainment and being a participant. When I'm on the book tour, I'm the entertainment. I'm there to be the thing on stage, which is fine. I'm fine being a performer. Going to a convention is about it's a professional meeting. It's going to meet other people who are interested in what I'm interested in, who are doing the work I'm doing, who are coming up in an industry that I'm trying to come up in. And it's much more about networking and talking about the trade.
But we should draw a distinction here, because he's talking about writers' conferences. Generally, what Daniel's talking about here is fan run conventions.
Yeah,
things like Worldcon and Bubonicon and
World Fantasy.
Those are fan run conventions. So there are a lot of other writers there, which is what Daniel's talking about. Other people who are in the business, editors, writers, publishers, all that stuff. Those people are there, but the convention is created for the purpose of giving fans access to the creators that they like
and celebrating the works that the fans are, fans of.
Yes. Yeah. Now, there may be specific writers' conferences that are just writers and no fans. I don't think I've ever been to one of those.
I did a couple. I went to teach at one that they invited me to that was like a wealth extraction device for newbie writers, where you
those exist.
And you go and you do like pitch meetings for your novel so that you can get there where you can actually talk to a real live agent who's there because it's a write-off if they do their vacation and go skiing right while they're those feel very weird to me. Those feel very uncomfortable to me.
I have never done one of those, so Daniel is the expert. Okay, and then we've got Linetra. Oh yeah, we know her. Shows up a lot. I am really looking forward to meeting you all at National Book Festival. Okay, cool. So we're going to get to meet Linetra at Washington, D.C. What's your go-to phrase for signings, or what do people request the most? Or alternatively, what is the strangest, wildest, most unique? Okay, so she's asking, do we sign like a little line catchphrase in the books? No, generally Daniel and I, at least at this point, there's enough people in line that we try to keep it to, if we personalize it, it's just to the person and then the signature. We do have some people ask for stuff, though.
If somebody comes with a request, that's fine. Yeah. The hard ones are when people come up and want us to pick our favorite quote or
okay. Or so for you listening, spread the word. Don't do that.
To it, we don't have.
Don't do that. Don't go up to your writer and go, can you put a quote in there? And they go, which one would you like? And they say, oh, pick your favorite one. They are on the spot. They have 100 people in line behind you.
They're exhausted already.
They're exhausted already. If you want a particular line in the book, know what it is and be ready to answer when they say, oh, what would you like? Know what the line is, or better yet, have written it on a piece of paper to hand to them. Because
we should pick something. We should pick a quote that is our go-to when people ask us that, so we don't have to think about that. And it should probably be something that isn't actually in any of the books.
Yeah,
just because that's.
I was telling you we should quote from the TV show.
Yeah.
or do a TV quote.
Something entirely different. Just make something up.
I kill you, filthy Vorga.
Hobbits. I love hobbits. Something like that.
I'm going to start doing I kill you, filthy Vorga. I mean, it's basically the Expanse was fan fiction for Stars My Destination, so I'll just
might as well go back to the DNA.
Quotes. I don't know that we've had any particularly strange signings.
We've had like strange things that came through. We had a guy who came through with a costume from the show that he'd got at the prop shop.
But that's not strange. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean it's not standard. It's not like he wanted us to sign his hamster. That would have been strange.
We have signed props. We have signed that people bought. People bought props. We've signed those. We've signed clothes that people bought that was like.
We've signed people
from the show
autographed books, like things that are
autographed books,
notebooks that they use for that. We've done that. We've done CDs.
The one that always surprises me when people have you sign their Kindle, because there's not a lot of space on a Kindle. That's very flattering. When somebody has you sign their Kindle, that means because there's only room for like 5 or 6 signatures on there, so you're in the top 5.
2 of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Julie? I'm not sure if this is Julie or July. Sorry if I'm getting that wrong. Okay. I'm curious how book promotions have changed over time. What was promoting like on your books before and for the first couple of books of The Expanse versus now?
I don't remember if we did any book tours on the first couple of books of The Expanse.
No, we didn't do tours, but we did some signings when Leviathan Wakes had come out. We did a signing at Worldcon, and we did a signing at what's the one out in Boston?
ReaderCon.
ReaderCon. We did a signing at ReaderCon, and this ReaderCon signing is very memorable for me because we only had one book out, which was Leviathan. It was getting some attention. It was getting some award attention. It was obviously selling well. We kept hearing from the publisher they were very happy with sales. All of that is true, but you don't understand that when you're living inside the machine as it's going. You don't know,
it's
right?
Received knowledge. It's something that people tell you.
So we went to ReaderCon, which somebody that Daniel and I both like is one of the Smoffs over at ReaderCon, and said, "Hey, you should come out here for this." And we were like, "Yeah, we like you. We'll come to ReaderCon." So we wound up going to ReaderCon, and we had a signing there, and we had no idea what to expect, right? Who the fuck knows who we are? So and unfortunately for us, our signing table, the other person at the table was Joe Haldeman.
So we were not the star at that table.
No. So it was Daniel and I and Joe. And I'm a huge Joe Haldeman fan. I've been very vocal about that. I think Forever War is one of the greats of our genre. But I also like his other work too. So it's not just Forever War. I think he's did some amazing work. So we're sitting there and I'm looking over. I'm like, this is going to be humiliating. It's going to be us with one person trying to figure out who we are while Joe has the line that goes out the door and around the building. It turned out we had as many or more people show up for us as showed up for Joe. And what was interesting about that is when we first sat down, Joe kind of halfway nodded to us like, "Oh yeah, you're the chum for this particular feeding frenzy." Like he didn't even. But as the signing went on, more and more he kept looking at us like, "Who the fuck are these guys?" Right? Like they keep getting people, and by the end he was talking to us. So I think that signing put us on Joe Haldeman's radar, which I will always remember that signing for that.
That's a lovely thing. It's always nice to have the respect of your peers.
Yeah, and especially somebody who I have enormous personal respect for.
Peers in the most flattering possible sense to me.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if he would remember who we are now, but at least we got to chat with him a little bit at ReaderCon because we had enough people show up. Oh, the other one that was like that was when we were signing with Joe Hill, and we had as many people on our line as he had in his. I was very surprised by that. I thought Joe was just going to mop the floor with us, but turns out,
and sometimes people mop the floor with you. I mean, the other thing is there are signings that just you wind up sitting there having a cup of coffee, talking to the bookseller.
Oh, if we ever do a signing with, say, George, we will absolutely be just steamrolled.
Yeah, and
there's no question.
Well, and there are times when just through the luck of the draw or because of the weather or whatever. I mean, we're
going to get to that. There's a question about that, so hang on to that one. We're going to get to that.
I'll keep that in the quiver.
It's the very next one. Varun Lax says, "I was curious if you guys ever had a book signing promotion where less people attended than expected." This is the story you're about to tell. So does that affect morale at all? Tell the story of the Denver signing.
There was a book signing that we did in at the Tattered Cover in Denver, but not like the main Tattered Cover, like the one out in the suburbs.
Yeah, not the one everybody knows.
Yeah. And it was a lovely store. They did a great job promoting us. They did all of the things they're supposed to do. But it was crappy weather, and it was like a weeknight, and things conspired to the point where basically nobody showed up.
I think if I remember correctly, we had 7 people.
So,
which is not 0, but it's still pretty low.
It's enough that you could get a good table at a restaurant. You could all just sit together.
Yeah, we could have all just gone to the restaurant together. Absolutely.
Yeah. When your signing could relocate gracefully to Applebee's. it's a little, it's humbling, which is good, actually. Everybody needs to have that experience, that one where you're there and you just get your ass handed to you by the universe. Because everybody,
it's
does
grinding
that.
for humility XP. It's
Yeah.
like I need to level up in humility. Let me grind for some XP here. Let me go to a terrible signing. Oh, there's that level I needed.
and and yeah, no, absolutely. Um, you especially for folks where it's like one of their first signings.
Oh yeah.
That's humiliating.
I'm going to tell my George story.
Tell your George
So
story. It's a good
so
story.
so George R. R. Martin, who is now king of the world, there was a time when he was not. There was a time in the late 70s, early 80s where he was a baby writer. And he had written he had mostly worked in short fiction at that point. I don't think he had written any novels yet. And his short fiction was very well regarded. He won all the Hugos that George has are all for short stories. A very well regarded short story writer, getting a lot of attention. And he had just signed a deal for a collection. It was his very first short story collection, 7 or 8 short stories in a collection. But it wasn't out yet. So the publisher sent to, I forget which convention it was. It might have been a Worldcon, but it was one of those kind of conventions. They had sent to the convention little like cards with the cover and his name, but it wasn't the book. It was like, next year this book will exist kind of thing, right? So they asked him to do a signing. So he was signing those. They're not even books. They're just like little, like there is intention to be a book cards. And they put him at the same table as Douglas Adams. Douglas Adams, so George didn't have a line. Douglas Adams had a line that went all the way through wherever the convention hall was, out the door, around the building that they were in. He had literally thousands of people in his line. George says he got maybe 2 or 3. And the worst part is he's sitting there just being like, what, this is the worst thing ever, right? I'm just sitting here. One of my writing heroes is sitting next to me, just absolutely stomping a mud hole in me, signing wise. And at one point, some enterprising con usher, well-intentioned, thought, oh, maybe there's some confusion. Maybe there are people in the Douglas Adams line who are actually trying to get to George, and they don't realize that the line is not for both of them. So George said he could hear off way in the distance. He could hear this person walking down the line going, no waiting for George R. R. Martin. No waiting for George R. R. Martin. And he could just hear, like echolocation, he could just hear the person going around the building. No waiting for George R. R. Martin. As nobody came up.
So yeah. For any writers out there in TV land, it's a rite of passage. The shitty, disappointing, humiliating book signing is a rite of passage. Everybody does it. Everybody hates it. It's one of those stories that you take to the convention, you sit in the bar and you compare them because everybody's got one. So when it happens to you, know that it happened to us, know that it happened to George, know that it happens to everyone, and we'll all get together and talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Holderman right now is telling the story about that time a couple of knucklehead upstarts had a bigger line than him at his signing and how horrible that was. So, yeah, I mean, we've all been there.
It's a rite of passage.
Is Daniel? Oh, so Eric says, is Daniel going to take a nap in Ty's room? He looks like he's comfortable back there. No, Daniel does not nap in my room, but he did come to my room to record that little video, and he was exhausted. So he looked like he was about to fall asleep.
It was a rough week. It was a rough week. I started off like terminally motion sick. I had a migraine at one of the signings, and my migraine aura is sometimes debilitating. It's not as painful as it was when I was a kid, but I lose, like, my vision cuts out. I lose language. That was terrible. And also, I am coming to you now from my new laptop because I poured a latte into my old one. This is now the second laptop.
The last two times Daniel and I traveled together, he destroyed a laptop.
Yeah, no, it was the comedy cut too. It was. I had the little latte. I had my drink, and I had a thing. And I was getting ready to work, and I put it down. And I put it down on an unstable surface, and it went splish. Oh no! I said, and then I grabbed it up, and then I put it down again, and it splished again. And oh no! And then and now it doesn't boot up. So.
Yeah, I was sitting in my room and I got a text from Daniel, and he just said the text was just, "You're going to laugh." It was just a picture of a latte sprayed laptop.
It was
another one.
It was not.
It made me think of that scene in Hunt for Red October at the end where the U.S. guy is talking to the Russian diplomat, and he's like, "You lost another submarine, Vlad." Yeah, it was that.
Yeah, I lost another submarine. So,
okay. So he did not nap back there, but he probably wanted to. He was pretty wiped out.
But I've been at Ty's place now for a couple of days, and I'm starting to be human again. I'm starting to be able to get to where I can work again. This
is a good place to rest,
and this is a lovely haven. And this is a lovely place to just kind of shut down. And I had like great intentions for being incredibly productive, and yeah, that was optimism. That was just optimism.
Well, if the only thing we do is get you back on your feet, then we've still accomplished something.
Yeah, I'm going to get some shit done, but more than that. That's not enough. But
all right,
hopefully we'll get me back on my feet.
He has not been playing my CSI pinball machine, although we used to play a ton of it in the writer's room on The Expanse. Because Narain Shankar, our showrunner, worked on CSI for 8 years, and they gave him one of the CSI machines. And then when Narain moved up to British Columbia, he couldn't take the machine with him. So he's like, "Ty, can I just leave my machine at your house?" Yes, you can.
And now here it is.
So now I have a CSI pinball machine. Okay. So Luke Meyer wants to know, he says he saw us in Beaverton. Does it ever get a little annoying that most people ask Expanse questions when you're writing something new?
You can't blame him for that. No, everybody has read The Expanse. It exists. The new thing, like by definition, they haven't read yet. It's kind of hard to talk about it. It's like, can you spoil this book that I'm about to buy?
Yeah, yeah, and honestly, I mean, I feel like so far we're getting away with it, but we'll see what happens long term. But that is the danger of writing a well-beloved, long-running series, is you become so associated with that, and for obvious reasons. I mean, that's not wrong. That it's very hard to get out from under that shadow, and
that is the place we are right now.
Yeah.
Career-wise, the inflection point we're at right now is we're finding out to what degree we have James S.A. Corey fans and to what degree we have Expanse fans. And
there will be some people who don't make the transition there, because the reality is that when people read the new book, mentally they're comparing it to 2 million words of Expanse. And they're going, this doesn't have as many things happening, and it doesn't have as much character development. Yes, the 150,000 word novel we just came out with does not have as many plot points as the 2 million words we wrote before that. Well, and there are some people who are not going to be able to mentally make that jump.
And one of the things that I've heard people complain about with the new book is that there's not as much character development, which, because
we spent 2 million words developing characters last time.
Yeah, your relationship to Bobby Draper isn't going to be the same as your relationship to David Alcor, and that's going to have to be okay for now. Yep. But the experience of reading is so intimate. It's so divorced from the actual act of reading. The imaginative experience, the experience of being in a ship with Bobby, the experience of being, in the desert with Alex and Naomi, isn't the experience of sitting on a chair with a book in your hand. It's the experience of being there. And it's hard to abstract back out and remember what it was like to read the first book or read an initial book or to meet somebody for the first time. And so you wind up with a lot of comparing of apples and oranges.
Yep.
That's unavoidable.
And you have no control over that. So the fact that people ask about The Expanse doesn't bother me at all. I mean, that's the reason that they're buying the new one is because they read The Expanse and they liked it. So why would I be annoyed that the thing that made them buy the new book is the thing they want to ask about?
Well, and I like it that these folks are invested in the works of James S. A. Corey.
Yep.
God bless him for it.
Yep. And then we have David Stanaway says, I see a number of authors doing book plates in lieu of book tour signings. Is that a new trend?
We did some of those too. I mean, we have some book plates. When people ask for a signed book or they want to get a signed book and you don't have one right there, it's way easier to ship a book plate than it is to ship a whole book.
Yep.
So, I mean, you still wind up with the signatures in the book. You still wind up with a little bit of the kind of magic object of having passed through this experience that a signing is. It's convenient.
The other thing too, and we haven't talked about this yet, is book tours are very expensive for the publisher.
Yeah.
So because they're buying you plane tickets, they're arranging transportation in the cities, they're buying you hotel rooms, covering your expenses. All of that stuff is true. So the other thing for a publisher is if the writer is a sure bet, if they know that the writer is going to sell a bunch of books and get a bunch of attention and maybe improve their bestseller list position, all that stuff, then it's worth it for the publisher to spend that money. If they're not as sure about you, they're less likely to spend the money on the tour. And every publisher is making their own calculation on that. So I don't know what the math is, but at some point it is more economical for them to say, here, sign 1,000 book plates, which we will send to all these bookstores that they can put in books that they're selling. And that costs, the price of that is the price of shipping book plates to you and shipping them off to the stores.
The other thing that we've done is tip-ins.
Yeah.
Which is
oh my God, so many fucking tip-ins.
Which is when they know they're going to be selling signed books. They've gotten an agreement or a commitment from a bookstore that they're going to sell X many 100 or 1,000 signed copies. Rather than print the copies, send you the copies, have you sign the copies and send the copies back, they send you sheafs of paper that you sign, and then they go to the printer and they get bound in with the book, which you get signed copies out. Everybody who wants a signed copy can get one, and it's really efficient. But boy, just sitting there watching a movie all day, writing your name 5,000 times.
Yeah, the problem with it being so efficient is the publishers feel like that's the option they like to do. So they have no problem going, hey, would you mind signing 2,000 tip-ins? You're like, 2,000? That's like two full days of signing your name. It's insane. But they love doing it.
And we do it. When they ask, we do. When we say yes, and then we complain, and we watch movies, and I watched Mandy.
Yeah, I made Daniel watch Mandy. What did you think of Mandy?
That was a movie, and I watched it from the very beginning to the very end, and there was a great wealth of things that happened in it. And
you just don't appreciate the Mandy the way you should.
Fucking weird, man. Yes.
Weird in all of the most awesome ways.
But it was hard to I mean, but it was also intensely visual.
Yeah,
and it was.
It might not have been the right choice.
It
for
was
a,
the
for a
thing you needed
movie.
to watch, and I was kind of,
Yeah.
So
that's fair. That's fair.
It may not have been perfect, but on the other hand, I did see it, and I'm not sure I would have otherwise.
So Christopher Schiller wants to know, what are James S.C. Corey's preferred pronouns? Do you have a preferred pronoun? I don't care.
I mean, I go with he, him because I'm kind of used to it, but
I think he's asking specifically about Jimmy, though.
well,
Does Jimmy have a preferred pronoun?
Jimmy's old and crotchety. Jimmy came up before, you know, transphobia was uncool. I'm pretty sure Jimmy is a he/him kind of guy.
I don't care. I honestly have never.
No,
really
I mean,
cared.
I'm not Jimmy, so I don't give a rip.
Yeah.
You can call him whatever you want to.
Yeah.
If he gets cranky about it, we'll make fun of him.
Yep. And then the last one, Maxim Vetrenko says, Europe, when will you come to Europe? We have answered this. We did go to Europe. If we didn't come to your city, yell at your publisher. Your publisher dropped the ball. We would have come there if they had asked us to.
Yeah, we did. We did a convention in London. We did the Luca Games convention, and we did a week tour through, I think, 5
Germany?
or 6 cities in Germany.
Yep. Yeah, so we did London, we did
Luca
in Italy, and we did Germany. And we offered to our Polish publisher, we offered to our Spanish and Italian, or not Italian, but French publishers.
Yeah, the Italian guy, we were there.
Yeah, we were there for the Italian guy. Nobody
sure.
asked us to come by.
I am sure we might do another tour to Europe at some point in the future, but good Lord, man, not this week. I'm dead.
Yep. All right. I think we have answered everybody's questions. And thank you to everybody for being patient with us the week when we had my wife and I had some family issues going on with people.
And be prepared to be patient with us again for a week or two, because we got this thing in DC, and I am going to be blasted.
Yep.
Lower your expectations of me. That's all I'm saying.
Wasn't that a Saturday Night Live commercial for the dating website Lowered Expectations?
If not, it should have been.
Joseph, you need to find the sound clip of the little song they played for Lowered Expectations. It was lovely, and it showed like 2 not particularly attractive people holding hands and walking next to a drainage arroyo.